Hey everyone, Steve from Aquarium Zen. I'm out here in beautiful Hawaii at Island Medaka, our sustainable experimental fish farm. Today I was going to take you guys along on a little aquascaping journey with me. I created a container pond for some of my favorite Medaka fish out here in my garden, and I'm not quite satisfied with it. So I'm going to reboot the whole system, add some hardscape design, maybe a waterfall, and bring you guys along for the ride. So let's go. So I have a little garden out here on the side of my yard where I keep a bunch of just potted tropical plants I've just been playing with. And I have a new container pond system that I set up for Medaka. The idea is I'd have this main pond and the one you could see in the back, and that's where I would keep my adult fish. And down here I would collect eggs and raise some babies down here. So it's kind of cool how this like 2-tub system, one for the adults and one for the babies. So that's the idea. I set it up kind of quickly. It looks alright, but it's not that exciting. Oh, there's a Medaka in there, it's hiding. But you can see I have some Mojito ornamental taro, really beautiful plant. They could get quite large with very large leaves, just incredible mottled variegated foliage on this plant. One of my favorite, really easy to grow. I also have pennywort. Pennywort, if you watch my other video on container ponds, pennywort's going to be that kind of engine of growth that's going to balance this whole ecosystem. Very fast growing, very adaptable, grow in low light, high light. Wonderful plant for just balancing the ecosystem. And I like the kind of parasol, almost like mushroom shaped growth on that plant, but it can be aggressive. You got to keep it in check. I've also got this umbrella sedge, another easy plant, beautiful plant. Just kind of adds like almost like a papyrus type structure to my layout here. And then yeah, there's just a pond of water. I had it built up along a bank of rocks with some soil underneath. There's some parrot's feather there. It was all right. You know, I put it together kind of quickly, but I think I could do a little better. And so let's get to it. The first step is to take it all apart. Okay, so I tore out the plants. That went pretty smoothly. It's a fairly small environment, so not that much to actually break down. But I just want to talk a little. You can see my little rice fish in there, my Medaka Japanese rice fish, a little white one, white male. Oops, not focusing. But I just want to talk about what I'm going to do in terms of the setup. This is a very naturalistic system, very natural setup. So it really comes down to just sunlight and nutrients and plant growth. That's what keeps the water clear and healthy for our Medaka rice fish. So I have this local cinder. It's a kind of chunky, porous lava rock. So that's going to be how I'm going to top dress the system. That's going to be the substrate on top. And then below that, you can't really see it at the moment, of course, but there's going to be a layer of soil. So there'll be like, you know, maybe an inch or so of soil banked up along this side where the plants are growing. No soil over here where I'm just going to have an empty pool of water, and then cap that all off with the lava rock and plant it up. So it's pretty simple. But in this iteration, this version, I want to also add some hardscape elements. So I'm thinking over to the right here, I'm going to have like a grouping of lava stone that I will have a submersible pump trickling water over that. So that should be nice. Just kind of add some movement. The lava stone will eventually collect mosses and look really good. It's very similar to the little desktop waterfall system that I set up in a previous video. So go ahead, we'll set up a link for that video and you can check it out. But it's basically a submersible pump that runs over a lava rock mountain, and that keeps like the mosses and delicate plants hydrated. So that's the idea. I just need to tear it all down, move it over a little closer to the electrical cord over here. So before I continue, I'm going to encourage you guys to hit subscribe, like this video, comment, ask us questions, engage with us. We'd really appreciate your support and encouragement with our new YouTube channel. Thanks a lot. So here's one of my guppy grow out containers. It's a 100-gallon stock pond. It's probably got 500 guppies in there. But I've been seasoning my lava rock for this project at the bottom of this stock pond. So I have some beautiful locally collected lava rock, and we're going to create a beautiful hardscape structure with this material. It's just wonderful, porous from the one of the latest lava flows on this island. So it's exciting to be able to use a local material that's so beautiful in this creation. Lava rock, of course, is very porous, and as water trickles over it, it's going to create the ideal sort of natural filter, biological filter, tons of surface area for bacteria to live on, and just very functional in addition to being very beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and move. I have 3 pieces of this lava rock sitting in this stock pond full of guppies, and we're going to move that over to our Medaka creation. Now, you know, rocks in Hawaii are very sacred. They're called Pohaku. That's the name for stone in Hawaii, and they're really important in the culture. They're thought to embody mana, spiritual energy. So it's really important to treat them respectfully. I felt like I had to live here for a while before I felt like I could ask permission kind of from the spiritual energy here before I could start aquascaping and using the Pohaku, using the stone for my creations. It's not something I would use to profit from. It's just purely for my artistic endeavor. But I just wanted to give a little shout out to the Hawaiian culture and their wonderful system of spirituality that really respects the land, respects nature, respects, you know, human spirit, and works it all together in one beautiful energy of aloha. So that's what we have here too. Aloha embodied in a pohaku, in a stone. All right, so I got my filter, my pump wrapped in filter floss. I'm gonna put some base rock around our pump so I can get a little more height with the lava rock. So got a few pieces, just real basic kind of rock to build up some structure. You know, aquascaping stone can be expensive, and you know, sometimes you can economize by creating a foundation with some simpler stones, maybe that you collect in a river. These are collected, we actually have a stream on this property, so this was collected in the stream, and they'll serve very functionally as a foundation for what comes next. So that's kind of the concept here. I have my submersible pump covered in filter floss trickling through this pile of lava rock. I really only have 3 rocks to work with, so I'm kind of limited. I think I'm going to use one rock back here as a kind of dam that can hold up some of the cinder, some of the crushed lava rock, and I'm going to fine tune this so it's not making that such a loud splashing sound, but I'm going to keep moving forward and try to see what I can do to live with this. But I think it'll function very well as a little in-container filter for sure. So it's going to require some tinkering, but it's kind of cool just to have some flowing water in a water feature. I'm thinking this is pretty good for now. I got a little flow over the stone so I can enjoy the water trickling in. Of course, it's going to function very well as a filter. And the stone in the back adds a bit of drama. I only had 3 pieces of lava rock to work with, so I was kind of limited. But overall, it's okay. There's going to be a lot of plants in here. There's going to be some beautiful fish. I had to build the whole pot up on a pedestal because we do have some giant toads, marine toads, living here in Hawaii, living in this property, very common. And any body of water they could get into, they will, and start breeding. So our lily pond is kind of perched on a pedestal to keep it out of the toad breeding action. But I think it's all right. You know, everything's very secure, looks a little dramatic, looks a little precarious, but the lava rocks just kind of lock into place naturally. And we got a good flow of water just cascading down that rock. And that'll look really cool with some moss and some other, maybe some ferns will colonize that. And maybe in time I'll add more lava rock and build it up a little bit more. But for today I'm pretty happy with that. And but you can see it's just going to function very effectively as a recirculating filter, with the lava rock being our biological filter. All right, so it's day 2 of the Medaka container pond, and I got my little water feature going. Everything's held in place by friction here, but it's been running overnight, so I can kind of see how it was going to do. The water's clear, and I like it. It's kind of hidden back here behind all my plants, which I kind of like. I like that kind of mystery. You hear a nice trickling sound of the waterfall coming through the jungle, and that kind of invites you to check out, hey, what's going on over here? So that's the idea. Just create a little flow, a little bit of sound, a little bit of movement, and of course that'll act like a filter to keep this basically an outdoor primitive style aquarium. So one of my absolute favorite plants that's quite common here in Hawaii, used as a landscaping plant, is this Mojito ornamental taro. It's a type of aroid plant. The taro plants were really important to the Hawaiians as their food staple. They were master aquaculturists. And this one is pot bound. You could see it's like all smushy and kind of rotting there at its corm. That's the tuber that actually the Hawaiians would eat. It's very starchy. Tastes pretty good once it's been cooked properly. So this plant is kind of suffering and needs to be repotted. And like I said, it's one of my absolute favorite plants, and I want that to be the feature plant of this container pond that I'm creating. All right, we're ready to go ahead and pot up our plants, our feature plants for our little container pond. I like to do sometimes these like community style pots where I'll put multiple species in one pot. They don't grow to their full size. There's some competition with the roots that kind of keeps the plants from getting too big. But for this size, for that size container pond, I'm comfortable with that. I could always repot them if I want. So we're gonna use our Mojito taro. I trimmed it up. It's got a nice little growth point here, and that should be a nice plant. So we're gonna have that in there. It's also gonna share this pot with this umbrella sedge. So we got 2 kind of vertically oriented plants. And then I have some parrot's feather that's just gonna dangle over the side. So my procedure is I'll put in a bit of this weed blocker just to plug the holes of the pot that I'm working with, and then I'll put a drainage layer of like some cinder. This is that crushed black lava rock just at the bottom there. It just kind of creates a drainage. Maybe put a little bit more. And just kind of allows some aeration, some oxygen to get to the plant roots. I'll then use a combo of local clay and potting soil. So I'm going to put down a layer of clay, and the clay is basically inorganic. There's not a lot of whole lot of like what we would consider, organic soil in there. It's primarily clay. And then I will go ahead and use a bit of bagged potting soil and kind of mix them together. And that's just going to create a real fertile rooting medium for our plants. I'll put in 1 tablet of aquatic plant fertilizer, kind of crush it up around in there, and go ahead and arrange my plants, see how I want them, kind of get a nice arrangement going, and then I cap the whole thing off with pea gravel, and that just kind of contains all the fine particles, weights everything down, and acts like a bit of a filter from keeping all this dirt from just exploding out of the pot and into our water column. So we're just going to secure our plants with a little bit of pea gravel just to hold them in place, and go ahead and do the same procedure with our parrot's feather. Parrot's feather is really an amazing plant. It's, like it sounds, has this beautiful feathery texture, and really easy to grow under almost any conditions out here. So it's one of my favorite clarifying plants to just kind of keep the whole aquatic environment really healthy. And everything's going to throw roots down into that layer of soil, so we don't have to worry about things getting enough nutrition. There is tons of that at the base of this pot. So now we can go ahead and just liberally sprinkle our pea gravel, and that's about it, pretty easy. I'm gonna rinse this one time to just kind of clear out the fine particles, and we'll bring it over to our container pond. So here we have it. We've got our tiered 2 Medaka tub system nestled back in the garden again, and you can see the water's flowing really nicely over the lava rock. I want to extend the lava rock structure over to the left there, but that'll be another day, another video. But you see, it looks very simple and nice. We got the crushed lava rock, the cinder as our substrate. We got our little island of vegetation with the umbrella sedge. We have our parrot's feather looking pretty good. I cut off the leaves of the Mojito Calo. This is kind of Mojito Taro. This is kind of how the Hawaiians do it, where they cut off most of the leaves and just plant the main stem, and that encourages vigorous growth. So I'm just following how the masters grow that plant. But you can see it looks really nice. Just adds a nice little trickling flow. Moss and dwarf parrot's feather on the rock, and aerates the whole system. That should keep the fish happy and keep everything growing and looking good. So I'm happy with it. All right, friends, we're on day 3 of our little Medaka container pond project. Everything's cycling really nicely. The water's clear, water's trickling, plants look nice and perky. So I think we're ready to go ahead and add our Medaka fish. I feel pretty confident they're gonna be happy in there right away. So that's what we're gonna do. So let's go, let's add some fish. So here we have our Medaka fish. They're got some nice, beautiful golden orange variety. 3 of them that I'm gonna add to the container pond. So they've just been chilling in my system, my aquaculture system. I'm actively trying to breed and raise Medaka here on this land. That's one of the projects here for sale. So look forward to that. But yeah, beautiful little fish. I think we have a couple males and a female, and I think they're ready to be added to the Medaka pond.